How's it going, my friend?
Hey, young man, how are you?
Oh, I'm all right, Larry. I'm just disgusted. They were sabotaging my show so bad yesterday. It was unreal. So I wanted not to even put in the intro today. I wanted to just talk to you because there's so many things happening, and I didn't want all of the attention focused on the intro today. I wanted to ask you um, real quick, what is going on in the West Asia region? We see Israel is talking about going to war with Turkey.
Hmm.
We Turkey is talking about openly intervening in Syria. We see factional fighting going on, and we see that Assad has yet to mention Iran um, in any of his statements that he's made since leaving for Russia. What's going on?
Hey, man, chaos is a simple answer. So, um, I think Turkey had a thought that it could control the situation and is finding out quickly that it can't. Uh, Israel has bitten off more than it can chew. And, one of the real things I don't see anybody focused on is that this crew, HTS, Hayat Tahrir Hashem, they're comprised almost, it looks like 80%, if not more, of foreigners. They're
Mhm,
not Syrians, so some may speak Arabic, but they come out of different cultural traditions,
mhm,
and you gotta have a tie-in with the Syrians,
mhm,
or what these Sunni. The vast majority of Syria is comprised of Sunnis. Those, and I understand that they're really in tribes, these family networks. Well, if you don't understand those family networks, man, you're not going to get anything done. There's also criminal networks, and the ability of HTS to control that is in question. And then there gets about to what is the ability of Turkey to control that. That's a whole nother issue. And at the same time, Turkey has now stepped up its attacks on the Kurds, and the Kurds are fighting back, and the Kurds are backed by the United States, and Turkey's backing its fighters against the Kurds. So, big mess. Nobody's in charge. And they've pretending that this Jelani character is somehow the new face of Syria. You know, he's had a what I call a homosexual makeover. So, yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know, well, you saw. I don't know if you're familiar. There used to be and I admit I watched it from time to time because I thought it was hilarious. This show called Queer Eye for the Straight Guy,
Yeah.
and it had four gay guys who were, one guy was known for his culinary abilities. He's a great cook and chef. Another guy was a Uber decorator. Another guy knew how to, was great at personal grooming. Looking good, staying fit. I forgot what the fourth guy did, but they'd go find some sort of fat, schlubby, heterosexual, some guy, who wasn't, couldn't get a date, and his home was a wreck, and he'd eat Cheetos and cheeseburgers. That was his daily food, and they'd clean him up. And then by the end of the show, man, the guy is like Hugh Hefner. you know, he's a stud, and he knows he can order expensive wines. Just that's what they've done to Jelani. I mean, Jelani was this, hardcore uh, uh, ISIS ideologue. He didn't broker any compromise, and now he's like, oh, maybe I could. Too bad Michael Jackson's not alive. I could have him come back, and we could sing "We Are the World." I mean, good God. And the fact that the West is going along with this. So, notice on the one hand, we're going, oh, ISIS is back in New Orleans, and ISIS fighters there's 1,000 of them waiting to rise up and attack us. But we'll take this old ISIS guy and we'll give him money and we'll say, hey, go ahead and run Syria. It's okay. It's good for us. And then we'll remove the $10 million reward. You know, if anybody's trying to follow the U.S. movements on that, they're gonna get a neck injury because you're whipping your head around so quick.
Do you think that the United States and Turkey are starting to have buyer's remorse for the removal of Assad, because this thing had. It seems like everything is moving towards regional confrontation. I mean, a major regional conflict, and Syria is the fuse that is. It seems like that has been lit.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think uh, they anticipated that this was going to turn out differently, and it's not. And again, it goes to it's a combination of arrogance and ignorance. The arrogance to assume that we know best, you know, we know what's going on, and then the ignorance of where they really don't understand the culture and the people and the makeup of the society. They just tend to look at it as, oh, they're Syrians, without even understanding that the concept of Syria itself is a little bit of a, you know, it's a colonial construct,
Hmm.
you know, carved out of the Ottoman Empire. So, you know, it reflects European interference in the affairs of those people. So, you know, I would say Israel is going to have some buyer's remorse too, because there's the assumption that, you know, Iran is far weaker now, and this is a real big, you know, improvement for Israel. I can make the case that when Assad was in place with established intelligence organizations and established military organizations, Israel had intelligence targets it could go after. And it, in fact, understanding is they had penetrated. They did have sources inside Syrian intelligence and inside Syrian military. Well, that gave Israel great insight on what Iran was up to, because those guys were ratting out Iran.
Hmm.
Now that doesn't exist. So Iran is no longer constrained to go through formal government channels. It'll work through a whole variety of, let's call them, informal smuggling networks. And now all of a sudden, Israel's going to have less intelligence, not more. And I think that could be a real danger for Israel. And you know, it's going to allow them to rearm. The assumption, oh, now Hezbollah is dead, they can't be rearmed. Oh, nonsense. You know, the smuggling routes that have existed across that region, they've been active for 3,000 years. And the notion that, oh, because Assad is gone, it's all going to dry up, that's just, you know, patently ridiculous.
Before we go to the next question, Incognito says Iran sent out cryptic message saying something would happen, but nothing happened. I saw that, but that was put out all across Twitter, and that was from a 20, I think a 2024 article when Iran did that right before they struck the second time, right before they struck Israel the second time.
Well,
Um,
they hit Israel October 1st, and then the Israelis retaliated on on October 25th. And then after that, Iran kept making noise. Oh, we're gonna come back and get you. We're gonna get you. We're gonna get you, and they haven't got him.
mhm,
I think part of that is due to Russian pressure
mhm,
to avoid escalating, and Iran, by virtue of entering into negotiations and an agreement with Russia, a strategic pact, that Iran has held off. And I think Iran was probably right to do so. The question now is, you know, what happened next Saturday, the 17th. Let's see, today's the 8th, tomorrow's 9th, 10th. So yeah, Friday, a week from Friday, President Pezeshkian of Iran will be in Moscow signing a strategic agreement with Russia. And that will be both economic, political, and military. Whether or not it constitutes a mutual defense treaty, we don't know. What we do know is both Iran, Israel, and the United States have been talking openly of attacking Iran, and in doing so, they carry the assumption that Iran is extremely weakened, and that the United States can do whatever it wants, or Israel can do whatever it wants to Iran, and Iran won't strike back. I think that's a very questionable assumption. I think if you make the alternative assumption to say, what would happen if Iran's air defense system is largely intact, and that their ability to retaliate is significant, would you still go ahead with the attack? I would think the sane person would say, well, no. So we'll see. This remains one of those hot switches that the minute it's thrown, it's going to take the world into an entirely new direction.
And maybe that goes along with what you previously said about Israel no longer has those inside sources to understand what's going on in Iran, and this could be a detriment to their survival and to U.S. Military power in the region, because if they miscalculate and Iran is unscathed and comes back and hits harder, then this could be the end of the Zionist state of Israel, and this also could be the collapsing, the part that causes the collapse of American power in the region. Because any war with Iran will bring to bear a lot of economic and military losses for both sides, but particularly Israel and then America.
Yeah, I'm not sure bringing an end to Israel. It could. It will certainly damage Israel. The U.S. reputation already has taken some big hits. There's now we're more than a year since Lloyd Austin announced Operation Prosperity Guardian to reopen the Red Sea, and then that operation has failed. The Houthis continue to shut down Israeli maritime traffic and have rendered the port of Eilat unusable. The United States hasn't been able to stop that. So it sort of sends a message, because the United States before was like, we're so mighty, we're so powerful, nobody can stand against us. Well, the Houthis have been, excuse my language, but shoving it up our ass at every turn, and we don't really have a good answer for it. So, I think there's both the United States and Israel exaggerate their military capabilities and haven't stepped back and really done an honest assessment, because say, oh yeah, Israel's so powerful. Really? It hasn't been the Hamas was not an organized military force. They were an organized guerrilla insurgent force with very light armor weapons. They don't have heavy weapons. They don't have armor. They don't have artillery. They don't have airplanes, helicopters. They have some drones. They have some rockets and missiles, but not much. Israel's been unable to completely quell and control that situation. I mean, they've killed a lot of Palestinians. They've destroyed the life of the Palestinian people in Gaza. But the Palestinians are still soldiering on, and Israel it exposed really some of the limitations of Israel's military prowess. And now Israel is stressed. Is trying to do things in the West Bank, trying to do things in southern Lebanon, and trying to do things in southwest Syria, around the Golan. They don't have unlimited manpower, unlimited resources, so they can't do everything. They got to make a choice, prioritize. So in that event, that if they attack Iran, the attack fails, and Iran retaliates, Israel, you're right, Israel could be in very big trouble.
Before I transition, Larry, to what's going on in the Sahel region, and also Trump's proclamations on Greenland, Iceland.
No, Greenland.
It's Greenland, Canada, and the Panama Canal. I want to play something for you. It's 2019, and this is Assad speaking about the policies of the U.S. against him. So here it is.
This fact started with the fact that the American officials, before anyone else, said verbally with the tongue, like John Kerry, like Hillary Clinton, and many others, when they talked about their role in supporting Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan in order to be a tool against the Soviet Union at that time. They said this is their modus operandi. It's not something we invented. They invaded Afghanistan, they got nothing. They invaded Iraq, they got nothing. And they started to invade other countries, but in different way. They change the way. The problem in the United States now, they fight a survival war from their point of view, because they are losing their hegemony. So they wanted to fight the Russian, the Iranian, the Syrian, whoever said no. Even their allies, they said no, like the Western government, they will fight with them. They need tools. They noticed that in Iraq, it didn't work by sending their army. They lost a lot. And they paid the price even inside the United States. So it's much easier for them to send a proxy. So Al-Qaeda is a proxy against the Syrian government, against the Russian government, and the Iranian government. That's why they've been using this. But you have evidence. ISIS, how did ISIS rose suddenly in 2014? Out of nowhere, out of nothing, in Iraq and Syria at the same time, with American armaments. It's very clear. How could they smuggle millions of barrels of oil to Turkey under the supervision of the American aircraft? How? Because the American wanted to use them against the Syrian army. So it's not something we said. The Americans said that, and the facts said the same story. There's a war between United States and the rest of the world. You have now, we're talking about tectonic shifting and earthquakes, because the world order after World War II has been expired, especially after the collapse of the Soviet Union and one polar world. It doesn't work anymore. So you have rising power like Russia and China and India and other countries. The United States doesn't accept any partner in leading the world, even UK, even France, even other big country. I wouldn't call them great power, because this is another meaning. They're not great anymore. They don't accept partners. That's why they are fighting now. So the war in Syria is a microcosm of the World War, let's say World War III, but without armament, through proxies. Israelis are our enemy. They occupy our land, and it's self-evident, intuitive, to be part of anything that could happen against Syria, any plan, any instigation, directly through their relation with the terrorists. And Netanyahu was visiting the terrorists who had been treated in their hospitals. The Israeli published these photos formally as a news. It wasn't our allegations. Second, they support, and every time the Syrian army advanced against those al-Nusra terrorists in the south, Israel used to bombard our troops. And whenever we advanced somewhere else in Syria, their airplanes started committing airstrikes against our army. That's what's happening. So the link is very clear. There was correlation between the Israeli operations and the terrorist operations. So first through the terrorists directly, second through the Americans, third through the Europeans. They have one agenda and one interest.
So in the fall of Syria and the deposing of Assad, why was that all of that left out of why the Syrian Arab army was in such a feeble position? We know the sanctions, we know the constantly bombardment of Syrian forces, we know the bribing of some people, we know the U.S. occupying a third of Syria, we know so Syria's fighting the terrorists, they're fighting the Kurds, they're fighting Turkey, they're fighting Al Qaeda, they're fighting
But
Israel.
Rashid, they weren't fighting. I mean, come on. I mean, Assad Assad is the ultimate loser. I mean, the man, what a pathetic joke he is. Okay, yeah, he begins to understand the picture. Syria's in a proxy war. He didn't do a damn thing to strengthen his army. He didn't do a damn thing to make sure his officers were paid. He didn't do a damn thing to make sure his soldiers were paid. He didn't do a damn thing to get appropriate aid from Russia and Iran, who are willing to provide help to fix it. You know, he was too busy trying to kiss ass of the Gulf Arabs. I've zero. At one point, I actually had great empathy for the man. Zero now, none. He betrayed his country. He betrayed the Syrian people, and has turned it over to these killers, because that's what HTS is—a bunch of killers. And both Turkey and Israel are like ravenous vultures tearing at the carcass of a dead animal. The only thing they don't realize is that dead animal's poison, and it's going to poison them as they eat it. So I don't see this helping Turkey or Israel at all in the long run. Whatever short-term gains they've had. Israel is all about, they saw Syria as the biggest backer for Iran. And as long as we take out Syria, then by God, we will weaken Iran. I think they're making a mistake. I think they fail to understand that Iran's got some other alternatives and doesn't have to work strictly through Syria. And as I noted earlier, as long as they had to go through Syria, it was actually to Israel's benefit. Israel was in a better position to control it. Now they have less control.
I want to play something short to show you just how arrogant Israel is, Larry. And this is from Twitter.
God, you're torturing me with this shit.
Hold on one second, Larry.
Waterboard me next time, okay?
I got you. I got you. So we'll share the screen here. Hold on, let me bring this up for you, because I didn't download it, but I'm going to bring it up on the screen, and I want you to see how arrogant these people are here. Okay, share screen here. It should be up on the screen. Can you see it now, Larry?
No, there it is.
All right,
there it is.
I'm about to play it, and listen to what this guy threatens to bomb Russia. Listen, this is the influential politician in Israel. Listen to what he says.
After this, Russia will pay the price. Believe me, Russia will pay the price. Russia is supporting the enemies of Israel. Russia is supporting Nazi people who want to commit genocide on us, and just Russia will pay the price. Russia also. Now listen to me very carefully. We are going to finish with these Nazis. We're going to win this war. It's going to take the time it's going to take, but we're going to win this war. Afterwards, we're not forgetting what we are doing. We're not forgetting. We will come. We will make sure that Ukraine wins. We will make sure that you pay the price for what you have done. You as Russia, and you and as all the enemies of Israel, and you as all the people who are now making everything they can to support genocide of the Jews in Israel. We are not forgetting. We are not forgetting. Remember exactly what I'm saying now. You will pay the price.
Amir, I think it's safe to say that this is a very passionate conflict that is happening.
Well, my people has been slaughtered by you, and you will pay the price. And you will pay the price. Is it clear? Is it clear?
No.
Believe me.
I don't actually think it is clear.
Very sternly.
I don't think it is clear, Mr. Weidman, and I would suggest in the future, as being a politician,
should be clear to you, because you have to understand that actions have consequences. And when people support murder of Jews, people pay the price. This is true in Gaza. This is true everywhere else. The time that Jews actually have no power to defend themselves is gone. And people will now have to bear the consequences of them supporting genocidal Nazis who are out to exterminate Jews. What we have seen 10 days ago is not something normal. We have seen these Nazis going out, massacring people in the streets, babies, beheading them, older people, women, raping, all these things. You've seen them with your eyes. How can you even dare to support the murderers?
Okay, hey, enough of this. Let's
public
move
opinion
on.
in Israel has changed. We are not 10 days ago.
Enough of that. I mean,
So, why do you?
I mean, he's crazy.
That's crazy.
I mean, look, here he is threatening Russia and saying, we're going to support Ukraine. And Ukraine is filled with a bunch of actual real Nazis. They're supporting the same people whose fathers and grandfathers put the Jews in gas chambers. You know, a guy like that, if there's any justice in the world, he'd wind up with a bullet in his head. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's sickening. But that's the Zionists are a bunch of bullies. They're the ones killing women and children. They're the ones murdering thousands. And he's just fabricating. And go ahead, threaten Russia. See how that turns out.
Oh, now let's transition to Trump. Trump takes office, and this month he's coming in with a bang. He's threatening to take I think that's the colony of Denmark, I believe.
No, Greenland.
Greenland is the colony of Denmark, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Denmark claims it.
And he's talking about forcing Canada to become the 51st state. He's talking about sanctioning Mexico, and he's talking about bringing through force if necessary, bringing in the Panama Canal back under the United States control. What is this all about?
I have no idea. I watch what Trump is doing and just say, what the hell are you thinking? That the significant number of people that voted for him, that supported him, did so because he was saying, we've had enough of these needless, mindless wars, and we're going to get out of it. And then what's he talking about? Expanding, basically getting some needless, mindless wars and taking Greenland and then taking Panama. And the business about Panama is just, it's divorced from reality. He's fabricating this. China has been in Panama, actively involved with the Panama Canal since it was turned over to Panama 25 years ago. Okay? And the Chinese early on, because I spent a lot of time in Panama starting in 1999. China got the right to manage the ports. There are three major ports, container ports up on the north coast of Panama in the Colon Free Zone, and one down south on the southern end. And China's been managing those. My understanding is too, at one point they realized the Panama Canal was too narrow. Some of the locks were too narrow for some of the bigger ships today. So China got the contract, went in, widened it. So they widened the Panama Canal. They've, like I said, been there for 25 years. They were there during Trump's entire first term. He didn't say a word about it. This notion, I've seen no evidence whatsoever to support Trump's claim that Panama's ripping us off. How do they rip us off? They don't have a variable price structure that says, oh, if you're from the United States, we're going to charge you twice as much. They have a set tariff schedule. You can go online, look it up, figure out how big your ship is, how many tons it is, and they'll tell you how much you got to pay. Pretty straightforward. So I don't know where Trump's getting that. The other thing is the number. It's not like we've got a fleet of U.S. ships sailing through the Panama Canal. The United States commercial fleet for carrying, liquid natural gas, oil, shipping containers, 99.5% of the world's ships are not U.S. flagged. Let me repeat that. 99.5% of all the ships in the world that carry containers and cargo, etc., are not carrying a U.S. flag. So how are they quote ripping us off? Now they said, well, the price people pay to go through the canal. Everyone's paying the same damn price, so we're not getting ripped off. You're getting ripped off if you're getting charged more than everybody else. This is all about getting upset with China. That's all this is about.
One last thing before, I know you're busy. One last thing, Larry. What is going on in the Sahel region? Because there are a lot of African nations now demanding complete sovereignty, the return of their assets from Europe, and the ousting of all Western military infrastructure and bases on their territory.
They're tired of being plantation Negroes.
Right on. Right.
All right? They're telling Uncle Charlie, hey, man, we're going to go farm our own land. We're going to be our own owners. You don't own us anymore. That's what's going on. This colonialism by the Euro, I mean, the repression and the persecution of the various African nations, whether it's Niger, Mali, they're saying, and Chad, hell no. We're not putting up with this anymore. We're done. You're out of here. You know, Europe, France, Germany, England, the United States haven't done anything for those people. And what they're finding when they get in, if you will, climb into bed with the Russians and Chinese, the Russians and Chinese are not sitting there scheming and figuring out how can we rip these people off. They're actually saying, hey, how can we help you? You know, if we make you wealthy and strong, then you're going to be a better friend and a better ally. And it's a whole new approach.
Yeah. Once again, Larry, I want to thank you for giving me a little bit of your time. I know you're busy, man, and I really appreciate the time that you give to the show.
I always got time for you, Mohammed, and you have a happy New Year, brother.
You too, man. I'll talk to you later. Be blessed.
All right. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right. Everybody, listen, you've got to join us in about 45 minutes. We'll have another show in about 45 minutes with Matthew Eric coming on the program. So we're going to take a 30-45 minute break. We'll be back. Join us. Remember to hit the like button and share. And as we say often and always, remember to do right by others, not because there's some material gain or some fame to be gained by it. Do right by others because it's the humane and the right thing to do. Because even when no one is watching you, God Almighty is watching you. And for all of you who support the channel, I want to thank each and every one of you and know that I love you from the bottom of my heart to the depth of my soul. And I'm really humbled and I really appreciate it. But know that the love that I have for you will always pale in comparison to the love that God has for you. Until we next speak again, which is in 30 or 40 minutes, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, stay righteous. Hey, mama, your baby boy definitely loves you more than life. Deuces, everybody. Thank you for your support. We're out of here.